I recognize the member for Orleans.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, over the summer, committee packed up and hit the road. Went to London, Niagara Falls, Barrie, Ottawa, and Thunder Bay, listening to residents, integrity commissioners, municipal staff, and survivors of harassment. They came in good faith. They told their stories. Some relived trauma they'd spent years trying to put behind them. They believed their government was listening. But after all that testimony, after all of that travel, after all of that taxpayer money, one thing became crystal clear. The government never intended to change a single word of Bill 9. The hearings weren't about consultation. They were a cross-province photo op. A waste of time, a waste of money, and frankly, a waste of hope. Bill 9 pretends to fix municipal accountability. It talks about serious cases and stronger codes of conduct, but the fine print tells a different story. Cabinet may prescribe a code of conduct, not shall prescribe or will prescribe, it may prescribe. So there's no real guarantee of a single standard. It's optional. It's window dressing. And the so-called ultimate penalty, the removal of a councillor or a mayor from office, that decision is left to the very same council colleagues, the friends, the allies, and the political partners of the person being accused. And not just a vote, not a majority, not even a two-thirds supermajority, Madam Speaker. It requires unanimous consent. Every single colleague, nobody can be absent. One friend, one political buddy, one member of the Old Boys Club can block accountability. Madam Speaker, under Bill 9, if you can find a single friend, you can keep your seat, no matter what you've done. So let's be honest about what that means. Municipal politics, many of us here have served in municipal politics over the years. It can be a tight circle. Small towns, close relationships, favors owed. When the worst behavior happens, too often it's inside that same circle. And Bill 9 hands the keys of discipline to the same insiders who already protect each other. That's not a code of conduct, that's a code of silence. Bill 9 protects the good old boys club, not the people who work for them. And we heard loud and clear from witnesses, Madam Speaker. Integrity commissioners told us this unanimous vote is almost an impossible threshold. A partner with the law firm, one of the biggest law firms in municipal affairs in Ontario, Madam Speaker, Aird & Burles, called it fatally flawed. Democracy Watch called it a kangaroo court. Survivors called it a betrayal. Even the Integrity Commissioner of Toronto warned that the structure will water down stronger local regimes and block justice for victims. Now, imagine working in an office where your abuser keeps their job because their best friend down the hall refuses to vote them out. That's what Bill 9 creates. That's not accountability, that's impunity. Now, Madam Speaker, Ontario didn't need another summer roadshow to learn this lesson. We already had the solution on the table. It was called Bill 5, the Stopping Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act. That bill would have created and would have made every councillor subject to a workplace violence and harassment policies, just like everyone else. And then, if an integrity commissioner found serious misconduct, it could be referred to a judge, and a judge would make a decision. An independent court could vacate the seat and bar the person from running again. That's real accountability. That's an independent, transparent, survivor-centred process. But the government voted it down. Then they copied parts of it into Bill 9, but they removed the parts that actually mattered, the parts that gave it teeth. They took the body of Bill 5 and stripped out its soul, Madam Speaker. So let's talk about this summer tour a little bit. 5 cities, dozens of witnesses, thousands of kilometres traveled, tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' dollars spent. Not a single change recommended by the members of the government who sit on the committee. Not a single amendment accepted to fix the bill's biggest problems. This government must think that they're perfect, Madam Speaker. Everywhere committee went, people asked the same question afterwards. Why are we here if they've already made up their minds? The media called it out. The Pointer called it, again, a kangaroo court. TVO said it was a waste of everyone's time. I believe there was an op-ed in the Ottawa Citizen to the same effect. And they're right, Madam Speaker. If you're not going to listen to people, then why don't you just stay in Toronto? You don't need a summer road show to believe that you're perfect. Don't drag survivors and staff across the province to relive their trauma for a bill that you won't change. So, Madam Speaker, they can call it, they can heckle over there, they can call it what you want, but you can't call it accountability when the accused gets to stack the jury. So, Madam Speaker, the cost of doing nothing to address this kind of harassment and abuse isn't and shouldn't be measured in committee travel expenses. Although for a government that's so proud of its pretty bad financial record, one would think they would try to avoid wasting taxpayer dollars. But the cost of doing nothing is measured in the staff who quit, the expertise and the passion our cities and towns lose out on, the residents who lose faith, and the survivors who decide it's safer to stay silent. When those people look at Bill 9, they see a system still run by insiders, still governed by silence, and still stacked against accountability. They see a government protecting the good old boys club, not the community. Madam Speaker, Bill 9 leaves the fox guarding the henhouse. It says to every councillor and mayor, don't worry, as long as your buddies have your back, you're safe. It tells every staffer who's been bullied or harassed, we believe you, but only if your abusers or friends agree. And it tells taxpayers that their government is more interested in protecting insiders than protecting integrity. That's not accountability, Madam Speaker. The people who came to those hearings deserved a government with the courage to stand up to the club, not bow down to it. They deserved a law that says no one, no matter how well connected, isn't above the rules. Accountability should not depend on who you drink coffee with or go for a beer with, Madam Speaker. The government had a chance to fix this bill, to replace politics with principle, to replace friendship with fairness, to replace the back room with the courtroom, and they blew it. Madam Speaker, real accountability doesn't come from unanimous votes or summer roadshows. It comes from courage, and unfortunately this government hasn't shown any. Thank you, Madam Speaker.